everybody? Welcome back to the Jaxon Show. I'm your host, Jaxon, and today we're going to be walking through my March Madness bracket from the round of 64 to the final four. So don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Comment question of the day is going to be who you have winning March Madness. Without further ado, let's just get straight into it. We're going to start with the first four games, which you technically cannot predict, but I'm just going to say that the 16 right here is going to be Alabama State. This one over here, Mount St. Mary's. This one over here is North Carolina. And the last one is going to be, for me personally, I'm going to go Xavier. All right? So, getting into it, the South region, we've got Auburn versus Alabama State. I'm going to take Auburn right now. I don't think any one seeds are going to lose. I think the one seeds this year going to have a big-time advantage over all the 16 seeds. So, Louisville versus Creighton. I expect this to be a tight game. This is one of those games that's going to come down to the final moments. I'm going to take Louisville in this one. Shout out Creighton. I think Creighton is a fantastic team. They did all the right things. I think they made it to the Big East Tournament final this year. But Louisville, they played in a not-so-great ACC conference. And I don't know. I just put more faith in Louisville for me. All right? Michigan versus UC San Diego. I'm just going to go ahead and click Michigan right there. Wolverines, they definitely stepped it up in the Big Ten tournament. Heading into that tournament, they lost 3 in a row. Coming out of the Big Ten tournament, they've limited the turnovers. They leave as Big Ten tournament champions, and they face UC San Diego in the first round, which could put them on upset alert, especially considering that Michigan does turn the ball over a lot. But I think that they won't turn the ball over as much as they normally would, for sure. So, I'm going to go Texas A&M, Yale. I'm going to go with the Aggies. Appreciate you, Yale, but Texas A&M, one of the better teams in the SEC. I remember looking at bracketology before they lost to Texas in the SEC tournament, and they had Texas A&M as a 2 seed, and that game still went to, the Texas game for them still went to double overtime. It was still a tight game. So I got A&M. Next matchup, Ole Miss versus North Carolina. I'm going to go with UNC. I think UNC is definitely going to be that 1-11 seed that advances. Past couple of years, at least one team has advanced from the first four. I think that's going to be UNC this year. Overall, Ole Miss, and I expect that to be close. Now, Iowa State, Lipscomb. All respect goes to Lipscomb, but I'm going to go with Iowa State in this prediction. I just like Iowa State. Me personally, I like Iowa State basketball. Shout out to Cyclones. Definitely keep doing what you're doing. Now, Marquette versus New Mexico. I'm going to take Marquette. This is definitely going to be a tight game, but I think Marquette survives for sure. Now, this can be one of those games where it's like, it busts your bracket. I definitely can't see New Mexico advancing in this game, but I'm going to go with Marquette just because they're the higher seed. Honestly, it could go either way. Definitely going to make multiple predictions. Definitely going to make multiple brackets, as I'm sure most of you guys will. Marquette's definitely going to be one of those teams that you pick. Marquette and New Mexico is definitely going to be one of those games where you pick one in one bracket and you pick another one in another bracket. So this is definitely one of those where I'm picking Marquette in this bracket, particularly because this is the one that I have faith in will be perfect. But New Mexico definitely can't upset them. And obviously I'm going to go Michigan State because, not a lot of 15 seeds beat number 2 seeds. It's definitely difficult to see. I think the last team to do it was Princeton. So moving back up to the top of the South region, Auburn versus Louisville. I like Auburn's odds. Like I said, Janai Broome. They're definitely fantastic. The thing about a team like Michigan, and this is what I'm going to say about them. The thing not Michigan, but Auburn, team like Auburn. What I'm going to say about Auburn is if Auburn faces, let's say, another SEC team that's not Texas A&M, let's say they face Alabama, or they face Florida, or they face Tennessee, or something like that, I don't think Auburn's going to win. I don't think Auburn can beat another SEC team in the tournament unless it's Texas A&M. I think they're going to have an edge over them. So guess what I'm going to pick in this 5-4 matchup. I'm going to take Michigan. The Wolverines. I know. But I got the Wolverines advancing to the Sweet 16. Now we got North Carolina taking on Iowa State. I am going to go with I'm going to go with Iowa State. Love Iowa State basketball. They're great this year. Didn't quite win the conference, but they're still very competitive and still very good. And obviously, I'm going to go Michigan State. I don't think Marquette has enough to beat the Spartans this year, even though the Spartans aren't a great offensive team. I'm going to go with that. So, Auburn versus Michigan in the Sweet 16. I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers. I think Auburn's definitely one of the better teams in the country. They're better than Michigan at this point, or at least this season. And if Michigan loses, so does Michigan State. Give me Iowa State, and I have Auburn moving on into the Final Four, coming out of the South region. So, moving on to the East region. Duke versus Mount St. Mary's. Give me Duke and Cooper Flagg right now. And reports have come out. I've checked them. I've confirmed Cooper Flagg will play in the first round. But there, is some debate. Duke could sit him, make sure he comes completely healthy, and I think that's probably the safe conservative choice, since I don't think Mount St. Mary's is going to give you a run for your money. But there's still a possibility, still a chance. Mississippi State versus Baylor. I got Mississippi State. Don't like Baylor that much. Oregon versus Liberty. I'm going to go with the 12-5 upset and take Liberty here. Definitely think that the Flames are high-powered offense, and a lot of teams a lot of sources are saying Oregon is a great basketball team, one of the better basketball teams this season. I don't really think so. I'm going to take Liberty. I'm going to go Arizona in that 4 versus 13 match. BYU versus VCU. Can never count out the Rams. I'm going to go with VCU, the 11. So you got 2 big-time upsets in this bracket. Now, Wisconsin versus Montana is definitely going to be good. Wisconsin, when they score the basketball, they do a lot of good things. They do a lot of good things. They do a lot of things correctly and right. I'm going to go with Wisconsin in this game, even though I like Montana for the upset. Now, St. Mary's and Vanderbilt is very interesting because, as far as I'm concerned, these are 2 teams that score the basketball a lot. These are 2 teams that score the basketball a lot. 2 teams that are very good. Honestly, this could be a closer match than I think, but I'm going to go with St. Mary's over Vanderbilt. And last but not least, like I said, Alabama taking down Robert Morris. Like I said, tougher 15 seed to beat a 2 seed in the bracket. So we got the 1 versus the 8 with Duke, Mississippi State. I'm going to take Duke, Cooper Flagg. They're going to go to Sweet 16. I'm also going to take the big-time upset with Liberty, taking out Arizona. Unfortunately, it'll be a sad end to the season for Caleb Love, but honestly, they need more help on that Arizona squad. And I don't know if Caleb Love has declared for the draft, but I don't think he would if they lose to the Flames in the second round. I'm going to take Wisconsin. I'm also going to go with Alabama. Moving on to the Sweet 16. Now, Sweet 16, Duke, Liberty, give me Duke. And Alabama versus Wisconsin, I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide. And I got Duke moving into the Final Four. Alabama's very good, very talented. Alabama scores a lot of points. And Wisconsin also scores a lot of points, but Alabama, I think they'll outscore them. Also, went with Duke. Duke plays exceptional defense. I don't think they'll outscore Duke. So, moving on to the Midwest region. Houston versus SIU Edwardsville. I'm going to take the Houston Cougars. Also, I got the Gonzaga Bulldogs moving on over the Georgia Bulldogs. That's a Bulldog matchup. The thing about Georgia, I haven't watched a lot of Georgia basketball, but definitely Gonzaga, with Andrew Nembhard's, I think his little brother's on that team. He's very good. So I'm going to take Gonzaga. I'm going to go Clemson over McNeese, avoiding the 12-5 upset here. But I will go with another upset, and that's going to be High Point over Purdue. Keep your eyes on High Point. I think that they can do an exceptional job. And they're very good at, I think they're very good offensively. Do a lot of good things, right? Look how much stuff they have on their side and their section, personal fouls per game, So I like High Point in that matchup versus Purdue. Now, I got Illinois, and like I said, Xavier moving on. I'm going to go with Illinois. I think they beat Xavier and advance. And this is the one where so many people they've been killing me. Troy versus Kentucky. What's so wrong with picking Troy? Now, obviously, you look at the score, it's not great in Troy's favor, but I believe. And the other thing I believe in is Kentucky's not that team when it comes to the NCAA tournament. I don't think they're that team, and I don't think they're that good, so I'm going to go with Troy. On the upset, I got UCLA, and I also got Tennessee moving on. Tennessee, they shoot the three exceptionally well. Watched a lot of Tennessee basketball this weekend. So, moving on to the Midwest region, I got Gonzaga over Houston. This is definitely going to be a tough matchup for these two teams, but I like what the analyst score is telling me, and I'm going to take Gonzaga. Also, Clemson versus High Point. I think this is where the High Point Cinderella story ends. I'm going to go with Clemson. Clemson, very good team in the ACC this season, along with Louisville, but I have them outlasting Louisville. Illinois versus Troy. I'm going to go with Illinois. They move on. And Tennessee, who shoot the three ball exceptionally well. I'm going to go with them. Now we go to the Sweet 16 games, Gonzaga versus Clemson. I'm going to go with Clemson here. Like I said, they're a great team from the ACC. I'm also going to Tennessee, like I said earlier. They shoot the three ball exceptionally well. Tennessee, I got them moving on to the Final Four. They shoot the three really, really well. And I love what I'm seeing from Tennessee so far. Unfortunately, they couldn't win the SEC because guess who was in their way? Florida, who fought their way into the number one overall seed in the West region. There are no first four games being played for the West region, which is kind of surprising. I like it when the first four games are spread out. You have one in each region, but I can understand why the committee did it, So, anyway, Florida versus Norfolk State. Give me Florida. UConn versus Oklahoma. I'm going to go UConn here. UConn hasn't had the best year per se, but I definitely think that they're better than an Oklahoma team. I'm going to go with Memphis over Colorado State. Avoid the upset. But I do also think Maryland's going to beat Grand Canyon. I'm going to go with the upset here with Drake and Missouri. I'm going to go with the Drake Bulldogs. Also going to go with the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. And I got Arkansas beating Kansas. Shout out my boy Anthony Kirk. He believes in the Kansas Jayhawks. He believes he's going to hop on that bandwagon. I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to go with Arkansas and also St. John's as well, moving on. So, back to the top of the bracket. Florida, UConn. I'm going to take Florida, the Gators, to move on in this matchup with the 1 versus the 8. The 4 versus the 5. I got Maryland, who's a very good team coming out of the Big Ten Conference. Drake versus Texas Tech. I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. And Arkansas versus St. John's. I got St. John's. So, the Sweet 16, I'm going to move on. Florida. Very good. Very talented. I love Florida. They get the tough points inside the paint, which is something that a lot of teams today don't really do. So, also I got St. John's. They know how to score the basketball, but also play really good defense. Florida versus St. John's. I'm going to take Florida, and the Final Four is set. 3 number 1 seeds and 1 number 2 seed with Auburn, Florida, on the left side and Duke versus Tennessee on the right. So we're going to start on the left side with Auburn versus Florida, and we're going to talk this out. Now I'm going to keep it up with my philosophy, because I think if Auburn takes on another SEC team, they won't win. You can see the matchup analysis score, and I completely agree with it. I'm going to go with Florida. Give me the Gators in this one. And Tennessee Duke, well, Tennessee shoots the ball exceptionally well. Only problem is, Duke plays really good defense. So, I'm going to go with Duke. And then we have our national championship game between Florida and Duke, and I'm going to go with the Duke Blue Devils. Final score 88-81. And there we have it. My prediction for March Madness is the Duke Blue Devils taking it home. Now, of course, you could have a completely different you could have a completely different bracket from mine. You could also use the tips from my video to help yourself make a bracket, in case you're not very familiar with some of the teams in this year's tournament. But before I go, I just want to say Greg Gumbel. He was the guy that announced the tournament for so long on CBS. And he passed away in late 2024, and I would just like to ask that we have a moment of silence to remember the great Greg Gumbel. All right. So, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Jaxon Show. Don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment answering the comment question of the day, and subscribe as always. Tune in next time to the Jaxon Show and bring a friend.